The thesis was basically the vehicle is going to become a data center on wheels.
I've seen that on your website, 4 out of 6 products have AI in their names.
We always knew this was going to happen. What was surprising to us was the speed of adoption, right? And now with AI, I think we're one of the first companies that are really incorporating AI into our products. It's not AI just for the sake of AI. It's actually solving real customer problems. We're seeing our AI products actually pulling along our SDV products, not the other way around.
Something that I've heard time and time again is that the complexity keeps increasing.
AI, a complex solution in of itself, has simplified things.
What do you see as the next big thing that's going to impact you guys? Behind every dashboard, every ADAS feature, every HMI, every EV battery lies a human story. I'm Stéphane Lagresle, founder of the Storytelling Tribe, and you are listening to Automotive Storytelling, a podcast where we uncover the narratives that drive automotive innovation. In an industry that is impacting the lives of so many people around the world, it's the power of storytelling that ultimately connects technology to humans. One quick thing before we continue. If you are new here, I'm Stéphane Lagresle, founder of the Storytelling Tribe. After 25 years in global automotive marketing, Harman Samsung, TomTom, Pioneer, I built my business around one truth. The best technology doesn't always win. The best story does. We help Tier 1 suppliers and automotive tech companies turn engineering complexity into narratives that win deals. If that's your world, let's connect on LinkedIn. Now, back to it. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Jeff Chou, CEO and co-founder of Sonatus. Jeff, you are a Silicon Valley technology leader with a remarkable track record in high-performance computing, working on data centers, unified computing systems, and much more. With an engineering foundation built at University of Texas and then at Stanford, you recognized early on that the legacy automotive industry was about to leave the same digital disruption that transformed finance, media, and cloud computing. In 2018, you co-founded Sonatus to simplify and accelerate the vehicle's digital transformation. Jeff, today, your vision of the car as a data center on wheels is a reality. Your technology is deployed in over 7 million production vehicles, including those from Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis. You are here to share your personal journey, the cultural nuances of building global partnerships, and how Sonatus is pioneering the shift from software-defined to AI-defined vehicles. Jeff, bienvenue.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here and have this wonderful opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise. And honestly, I've been following Sonatus lately. I have to say that probably the first time I've been discovering your company was last year at IAA in Munich. And then I've seen you again at CES. And I have been very impressed by how, the company has grown since then. But to start this podcast, I'd like to go back to the origins, and I'd like to go back to really where it all started. And so my first question to you was, how did it start?
You asked a great question because I love to ramble on about history. That's what old people do.
I love that. We are here in automotive storytelling, so go ahead. I love stories.
No, actually, it began, I would say, probably with my industries that I've been to, and I've had the privilege of working, which was the IT industry.
Okay.
Data center industry. So I started my career building servers and networking equipment and storage equipment and software stacks for that industry. And I, myself and our team We've been through many transformations and disruptions across many different industries, banking, retail, media. And so when we took a look at what was happening in automotive and mobility, we said, hey, you know what? We see the same transformations happening. So we decided to take some of the things that we've learned from history and apply them to automotive. And the thesis was basically the vehicle is going to become a data center on wheels, and all of the technologies that we developed and studied before and all of those learnings, we could potentially translate them to the automotive world. And so that was the inspiration and the genesis for Sonatus.
But would you say that automotive was really, let's say, a business decision, or you were also attracted by the automotive as a whole because maybe you're a car guy?
I think it was all of the above. There is a certain allure with automotive back in several years ago with autonomous driving, with Tesla, with the disruption, with electrification. I think automotive was definitely a hot sector. And being a technologist, I gravitate towards hot sectors. And it just happened to be such that the timing was that sector was being disrupted not just by EVs or autonomous, but by a host of other technologies and ideas. And that's when, I felt the confluence of everything coming together. And this is the right time to be innovating in automotive. So it was a timing thing. It was definitely a sexy industry thing. It was everything that came together. I think we were in the right place at the right time with the right technology and hopefully the right solution. And that's how we started the company. And it's been a great ride. I think we've been through a lot, and I think the automotive industry has been through a lot, and it's been fun riding the wave of disruption, if you will. So, and we have a long ways to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess and just finishing on the origins for a minute. I mean, you were a Silicon Valley, obviously a startup, right? In a world which was by then mostly dominated by Europeans and by Japanese manufacturers. So were you kind of excited by the challenge, afraid by the challenge, or a mix of everything? How did you see you positioning a startup in such a very established, industry?
Well, that was definitely a challenge that we knew was going to happen. I think everybody outside of the automotive industries has heard about the difficulties and the horror stories of trying to break into automotive. But, being a naive entrepreneur, I knew it was going to be hard. But after getting into this industry, it's been an eye-opening. It's harder than I thought it was going to be hard. But that's part of the risk and the reward, and the challenge is, I wake up every day looking for new challenges, and this was a great way to leverage what I've learned in my previous careers and apply them to a new industry. That's what's so exciting. So yes, there have been a lot of hurdles to overcome. We have not overcome all of them yet. I don't think we ever will. But we're learning day by day. A lot of that is learning from our customers and our partners. So again, every day we wake up and for me, it's exciting because it's such a dynamic time in this industry. And that's what I live for.
So the beginnings were really, it was a software company, right? So was there a kind of a aha moment that happened at the beginning where you were like, okay, now we are on the right trajectory?
Yeah, actually, I think we had the benefit of looking back on history and looking at the progression of technology in the data center. There were certain steps, right? That this had to be in place before that happened, and then that had to be in place before this happened. And it was apparent that automotive was following kind of the same trajectory. And our first product was built around something as basic as in-vehicle networks back in 2018. And that was also where the first revolution of the software-defined data center happened, was universal connectivity and networking. So once we built kind of our first generation product around in-vehicle networks, that was not only a confirmation of our hypothesis, it was also an aha. It was like, wow, okay, I think we're in the right place at the right time. We see the kind of direction that we want to go in. We see the technology that will be adopted in what order. And I think largely it's been transpiring and unfolding the way that we thought it would. So it's been a lot of self-discovery, but a lot of validation and a lot of confirmation. And it's just, yeah, been a wild ride.
Excellent, excellent. So let's fast forward a little bit, and at CES you have been announcing a new tagline for your company, right? Which is all about intelligence. What was the reason for you to say, okay, we need to change a little bit the narrative of who we are and how we address the market?
Well, actually, I think, again, we had the benefit of history. And if you look at history and the way the software stack evolved in data center, it was naturally going from the lower layers closer to the hardware and moving northbound from the hardware to the operating system to orchestration layers to infrastructure services to applications to data and eventually AI. So that natural evolution of the software stack that happened in data centers is happening in every industry, including automotive. So we always knew this was going to happen. What was surprising to us was the speed of adoption, right? We knew that that data and AI were going to be one of the destinations, but it's, ever since LLMs burst onto the scenes, it's only accelerated. So it wasn't a discovery that we had to move in this direction. We always knew we needed to, but we just thought there would be more time. So technology just gets adopted so quickly.
And in your opinion, what has been driving this speed?
Well, I mean, in the very beginning, before AI was really hyped up to the level that it is today, it was really universal connectivity, right? If you think about the disruptions that we had in data center, of course, there was compute and there was x86 kind of standardized platform, but the big one that started a lot of this was universal connectivity and networking in the mid 90s. We had a saying that the network is the computer, which was kind of an interesting thing at the time. Nobody really understood it, but I think now it's almost self-apparent. When vehicles started modernizing their in-vehicle network, we knew that was the tipping point. And then once the network became the computer, everything followed after that. And AI was a natural evolution to that. And it was really the open AIs and the chat GPTs that caused a lot of the next domino fell. And when the next domino falls, every domino that falls after that just falls faster. That's been proven by history. And so here we are, where AI is being proliferated in every industry so quickly, and automotive is not far behind anymore. In fact, it's in many ways it's on the bleeding edge.
And so I'd like to come back on this network idea because I think it's really, really interesting. Would you say, because we have seen the evolution of the EE architectures in the vehicles, right, over the last probably decade or so, which has been, let's say in parallel, we had the network evolution going together, and then we had the software stack evolution at the same time. What would you say would be driving the other? Was it just, from your point of view, do you think that software was kind of driving the architecture? Who was, the chicken and the egg, so to speak?
I think it's always infrastructure drives application, not the other way around. Again, if you look at history, the internet was there before social media. We didn't invent networking and internet thinking that there would be Facebook and chats rooms and things of that nature. The infrastructure was developed first, and then use cases came later. So almost like enabling technology, right? Same as compute. Right? People didn't imagine what compute could do when they invented the first microprocessor. So it always seems that infrastructure happens first. And then after the hardware infrastructure happens, you need software infrastructure to orchestrate it. And then after the software infrastructure is there, then the applications follow. So this has been proven time and time again with compute, with network, with storage, with virtualization, with data. And it's interesting how history continues to repeat itself. So I personally think, and this is my humble opinion, that hardware innovation comes first, infrastructure comes next, software comes next, and applications come later. And frankly, it's young, smart people, who I'm not one of them, figure out new ways to use the infrastructure that we build. Right? I mean, that's the way it is. So that's why we're at the beginning of this evolution or revolution in automotive. Is we're building out the infrastructure right now, and the next generation will discover new ways to use it and derive value from it. And that's what's exciting.
Okay, one thing that is very exciting, I guess, for you guys is to have so many vehicles currently driving with your technology. I read that you have 7 million of them today.
That's right.
Do you have any, and one of your biggest customers is the Hyundai Kia Motor Group, right, with the different brands they have. Do you have any anecdote or story that you can tell when you were starting to have traction from OEMs and eventually not obviously, giving any secrets, but is there anything you can tell us about how finally you got there? Oh, we have our first true customer.
Yeah, I mean, what I can share is, well, first of all, I have to give a lot of credit to Hyundai. They had a lot of vision as well. In my previous companies, I was building out their own data centers for them.
Okay.
And at that time, they were working on connected cars. So they naturally, basically, we started discussing, and they asked me, can you take what you did in the data center and somehow extend it to the edge in the vehicle? That was one of the first, discussions we had about taking Sonatus technology and connecting it to the data center technology that I delivered in my previous lives. So that was the genesis of it all from a initial customer perspective. And then we naturally flowed from there.
One quick thing before we continue. If you are new here, I'm Stéphane Lagresle, founder of the Storytelling Tribe. After 25 years in global automotive marketing, Harman Samsung, TomTom, Pioneer, I built my business around one truth. The best technology doesn't always win. The best story does. We help tier one suppliers and automotive tech companies turn engineering complexity into narratives that win deals. If that's your word, let's connect on LinkedIn. Now, back to it. Obviously, the SDV revolution or evolution, depending on who you're going to talk to, has been helping you guys immensely, right? Because the new architecture that we have been talking about is enabling to have much more data from many more sensors within the vehicle. So when did you, because as we said, now you are moving towards AI. I've seen that on your website, 4 out of 6 products have AI in their name. So it's really, and I've seen some of the demos at CES or even on your website where AI is really completely incorporated into your products. Is it for you, do you see AI as really the core of your positioning and how you differentiate versus your competition? Or do you see this as a way to improve the products that you already had before? So I'd like to understand a little bit how AI has been transforming your business essentially.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's been transforming how we operate our company as well as what our products that we're delivering. So there's definitely both aspects, an internal aspect and an external aspect. So let's just talk about the external, which is our products, right? To answer your question, it's both. It is improving our products, and it is also I wouldn't call it a new focus, but an emphasis on developing those products. Kind of like, actually, I think Google, was it this week, unveiled how they are obsoleting their own traditional search engine with one that's more question and AI driven. So how would you classify that evolution. I would say AI is improving on their existing kind of search or portal to data philosophy. And so it's not a replacement of what they're doing. It may seem that way from a product perspective, but they've built upon their traditional search engine. And that's exactly what we're doing. We are building AI on top of everything that we've already built before. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a completely new product or set of products. It's really adding value. It's, again, value is moving northbound in the stack. It always has. It will continue to do so. So then the question is, how do you layer AI on top of what you have to improve it? And that's what we have done. And as you mentioned, data is a big part of that, right? It's no longer sufficient just to collect and manage your data. You have to derive insights, right? Data, what's the old saying? Data to knowledge to wisdom, kind of that progression.
Okay.
And that's always been there since the beginning of time. And automotive is doing it now, right? It's no longer about data. It's about insight and wisdom. So how do you do that? You have to have AI.
But again, if you were just asking my question about how do you position yourself and how do you position Sonatus versus within the rest of the market, what would you say makes you unique?
I think we have several advantages. I think one of the things, and I have to give credit to our team here, from, people sometimes call us a Silicon Valley company, but I knew that was going to be a difficult position to when we talk to OEMs, because the last thing that OEMs want to talk to is a Silicon Valley company that has the hubris to go in and tell them, you need to do it this way, not your way. That's a horrible attitude for a tech company. So I knew we would have to build a team here that bridged the two culture gaps, where you had to have, technologists from Silicon Valley-ish, and you also had to have traditional automotive people as well. And we as a company had to bridge that gap internally before we could assume that we could bridge that gap with our customers or our partners. I think that's one of the things that makes us unique as we built this company, is the unique DNA mix of our team, because we all recognize, I think I'd like to give us some credit that we were self-aware enough to know that we were ignorant in automotive, that we had as much to learn from them. And hopefully we've passed on some of the things that we have learned before to them. I'd like to think that's the case. But as we built the company, this mixture of DNA in the company, I think, is one of our strong differentiators. So when I do go talk to a customer, we're not some arrogant startup Silicon Valley thing that has no idea how to speak their language. I think we can relate. And so that's been a big differentiation for us. Technology side, I think we have a lot of first movers advantage. I think a lot of the software defined technologies and methodologies that we started the company came from what we've done before in the past. Actually, software-defined networks. It was a paper written by MIT in 2005. And then in 2006, Stanford established OpenFlow, which was one of the first software-defined network standards. And then in 2007, Cisco released one of the first software-defined networking components. And then software-defined storage happened after that. And then software-defined data, everything was software-defined. So, I think we learned a thing or two back then, and we brought some of that learning to how we build software for vehicles. So I think we had, first movers advantage back then. And then now with AI, I think we're one of the first companies that are really incorporating AI into our products and making it crux to our technology and our value proposition. It's not AI just for the sake of AI. It's actually solving real customer problems. So that's what's exciting about this. It's not a hype thing. It's actually, we're seeing our AI products actually pulling along our SDV products, not the other way around.
But I can completely relate to this, because I had this demo at CES of what you guys have done with Nissan, where an engineer can actually ask the car and ask questions, like natural questions to the car, thanks to your AI platform. And I think that this is really, indeed, as you say, it's not like, okay, we're going to put a chatbot because everybody does, right? It's like, how do we incorporate AI so that it actually makes the life of our customer easier? And I think that's very powerful.
No, that's absolutely true. I think one of the things that LLM has done is it humanizes a lot of technology. And automotive, in many ways, needs to be humanized because more and more tech is going into vehicles. And how do people who build the vehicles, service the vehicles, and buy the vehicles relate to their cars? I think that relationship between the human and the vehicle is going to get closer and closer. And AI is one of the enabling technologies. But unlike human to human, cars don't speak English. They don't use language. So,
Yeah.
where's the connective tissue between the human element and the machine element? That's where our technology lies.
I'd like to come back to the cultural aspect. You were talking about the cultures, Silicon Valley culture versus the Detroit or let's say the Munich culture, or at least the German culture. When you face customers, when you have conversations with customers, would you say that the narrative that you use to present either Sonatus as a company or either what the products you do, would you say that you need to adapt based on who you have in front of you, whether it's in Korea or Japan or Europe?
Yeah, I would say always we're adapting. I mean, there are some commonalities in culture in, just from an industry perspective, but as many commonalities as there are from OEM to OEM, there's also a lot of differences.
Yeah.
So, in terms of I mean, there's still deep-rooted country, geography, culture differences that's infused into the automotive industry in those geographies. So we have to be very, very aware, respectful, and fit in to each OEM slightly differently. That's absolutely the case. But there are commonalities, right? It is a common industry, so it's interesting as we bring, and that's why I think we have a very rich, diverse set of automotive talent here, from folks from
Hmm.
Germany, from France, from Korea, from Japan, across APAC, across EMEA, and India, that we can apply some of the cultural differences and make it a strength. So in this industry, you have to be global, right? And understanding not just the automotive culture, but the geography is just as important.
But would you see from your point of view a difference in adoption of new tech and AI in particular in the different regions? Is the mindset of the different cultures having an impact basically on AI adoption?
Hugely.
Oh
Hugely,
yeah.
hugely. It can be scary, actually. I have to say that China, for example, their adoption rate of new technologies, not just AI, is staggering.
Mm.
When we go in and we talk to some OEMs there and tier ones there, the bureaucracy, the adoption rate, the speed is many times faster than Western OEMs. It is not surprising to me at all how advanced that they have gotten. And I think the world needs to take notice on that. So, we do have presence there. A lot of it is we also learn about what their methodologies and thinking and their adoption rate is. In many ways, it's a bellwether for the rest of the industry outside of China. But I feel good in that at least they're still interested in our technology. So we're not obsolete over there. If anything, I think we have technology that helps them move forward as well. So it's not all lost for the Western OEMs. They just,
Yeah.
in many ways, I would say not to rat hole on this, but the Western OEMs, the incumbent OEMs, even in APAC that are outside of China, it's their race to lose, really. They have the brand name, they have the distribution, they have the customer base. It's their race to lose. So
Yeah.
it's not over yet. And technology is there for them to adopt and leapfrog what is there in China.
And what is the fuel you would say to win that race? Is it mindset? primarily?
Mindset is there for definitely adoption of technology, but there's definitely a hunger that's there in terms of, let's say, capturing the market and capturing the industry. And I think that hunger is across that entire region. We see APAC, and it's not just China, but APAC. The culture is slightly different there, and it's work, 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 work. It's funny, people talk about China doing 996. Have you heard of this? They work from 9 a.m. to
No.
9 p.m. 6 days a week. Actually, we're finding that's more 007. It's midnight to midnight, 7 days a week.
Oh
When
my
we
gosh.
say, oh, when are you guys available? They go, oh, Saturday, anytime, Sunday, anytime. There are times when my team gets exhausted working with the partners and the customers over there.
So speaking of partners, thank you for the transition. I've seen that you guys have been joining SDverse very recently. I've seen also the partnerships you have done with Michelin at CES and others. From my point of view, I'm going to ask you the question differently. From my point of view, what I've seen really changing dramatically recently is how the whole, waterfall from OEM to tier 1 to tier 2 to eventually tier 3 is now, leaving place to more collaborations and more open collaborations at every level. How did this SDverse, the fact that you guys have joined SDverse, is it part of this, let's say, change?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's unique about the automotive industry is how diverse it is from not just the OEM, but across all of its suppliers. So we knew going into this that no one entity could solve some of these problems. It had to be collaborative. We have to work
Mm-hmm.
with all the other suppliers, and whether it's hardware suppliers or software suppliers, it's such a rich ecosystem that we knew that partnerships were very important and crux to building a successful supplier to any OEM. Now, I know there have been a lot of talks and a lot of maybe recent OEMs that have done more vertical integration, and I think that trend will continue. But
Mm-hmm.
it'll be heterogeneous. There will be some OEMs that do more vertical, some OEMs that will do more partner. I don't think there's a one size fit all here. There never is in any industry. There's going to be a grayscale, and depending on where you are on that spectrum, you need to be as an OEM, whatever works, right? It's not a one size fits all. And that's why I think there's still a lot of opportunity around partnerships and collaborations because that ecosystem will be there.
Very good. Let's look at the future a little bit now. So, the evolution of your company has been pretty staggering, I would say, in just 8 years. Maybe it's a very complex question because nobody really knows and nobody has a crystal ball. But what do you see as the next big thing that's going to impact you guys?
That impacts us.
Mm-hmm.
Sonatus specifically, I think it's AI transformation.
Okay.
And that's not being cliche. It's again, I think the whole AI will change, as I said before, the way humans their relationship with vehicles. And that's not just from a driver perspective or consumer. It's people who build the cars, it's R&D, it's people who manufacture the cars, it's people who sell the cars. And I think that's going to transform everything. And that's a little bit of a vision, kind of how you want to position the company and what kind of products you want to focus on. Again, we can't do everything. Nobody can do everything. Where do we want to put our precious resources and what areas we want to focus on is going to be the key for our next step in our next evolution in this company. And it will be all driven by AI. And make no mistake, all of the AI is going to be built upon SDVs. So it's not like SDV is abandoned and now AI is something different. I think I spoke about this before. And SDV will become one. You will always be chasing new technologies and new ideas. So the SDV technology is not going away. It's a fundamental infrastructure or foundation upon which you build other technologies like AI. So that is the new frontier.
Because some people start to talk about AI DV as opposed to SDV. You don't see it this way?
I see whatever the industry adopts, because we again, if you look at 2 years ago, when you asked 10 people in the industry what does SDV means, you'll get 20 different answers.
Probably, yeah.
And I think AI driven vehicles, or defined vehicles will be the same thing. So, to me, terminology is something that we will just follow the industry standard, but what our vision is will be distinct from what the terminology is. But using AI defined vehicles sounds about right. I don't know if it will eventually encompass SDVs. I personally think SDV and AI DV could be one and the same, because they're both defined by software. And I think, but probably that term won't stick in the auto industry. I have no idea. But yeah, for lack of any other better term, yeah, I think AIDV is probably where it's going, and if it's not already arrived, absolutely.
Because what we have seen at CES, I remember I had this conversation with Alexandre Corjon from your team, and we were talking about the Nissan Leaf, where you managed, thanks to the new products that you have, to really significantly reduce the time needed to in the development of the vehicle, right? Is it what the whole AI is about? Is it just about being faster, or there is more to this?
Yeah, actually, that's one interesting thing that we found out was, let's take a step back to SDV. One of the things that was challenging about SDV was actually quantifying the value prop, because it's an infrastructure thing. It's always hard to quantify what does an infrastructure buy you, right? If I put more software in the car, how much is it going to save me? Or how faster is it going to make me? Or am I going to get a new revenue stream, right? These are the things that every OEM asks. And I think everybody was grappling with that on SDV. In fact, I was at the CISA conference a little over a year ago, and they were talking about the trough of disillusionment on SDV, and everybody was feeling it because SDV didn't deliver on its promises of new revenue streams and cost savings. If anything, it cost the OEMs more because they had to devote thousands of engineers developing it, right? And it took them longer because now you had so many more lines of code that you had to debug. So where's the benefit of SDV, right? So SDV was always kind of more difficult to quantify in terms of a value proposition, but AI is opposite. And that's what we have found. And the way we are, talking about our AI products is we're focusing on only two values. And the value is time, time and cost. It will save you money and it will accelerate your time to value. That's it. Only those two things. And we believe that those are the two most important things to OEMs today. Now, to take the Nissan case, the time to value for them is getting to SOP quicker. That's it. Debugging their car quicker and getting into manufacturing quicker. We all know that OEMs want to shorten their production cycles, their design cycles to production cycles. So AI in the Nissan case was a perfect example how we could save them time. Now, cost is the second one. Well, if you have a tool like AI that will help you debug faster, that means you need fewer test cars. You will need fewer hard drives to collect your data because now you're doing it more intelligently, right? You will need fewer cycles of engineering time to do the same work. Just like the software engineers today are more productive because of AI tools, the folks that are testing vehicles will be more productive testing the vehicles, and you will get higher quality vehicles, which means you will save more money on repairs and recalls. So it's really those two things. It's time and it's money. Saving money and saving time. And that's where we see the biggest value proposition of our AI products.
Really interesting. Something that I've heard time and time again is that the complexity keeps increasing.
I'm sorry, the complexity
keeps increasing. Yes. What is your take on that? Where do you think that you can help in either managing the complexity or either decreasing the complexity?
I think this is where our AI products can really help because, yes, the AI products themselves that we have developed are very complex. But by using them, our customers can, in many ways, we hide the complexity and we help manage their own complexity. Yes, the vehicle is getting more complex, but if you can provide your customers with an AI tool that helps them debug a complex problem much easier, then basically it shrinks the complexity domain significantly, right? So now you can ask a car, imagine being able to ask a car if you were a driver, hey, what's wrong with you?
Hmm.
Why, we've all faced the challenges of car ownership. And with cars getting more complex, I'm scratching my head if my car doesn't feel right and I don't know what to do. There's no yellow light. Heck, even if the yellow light comes on, I don't know what it means. So what do I have to do? I have to drive to the nearest service shop, and that service shop is incentivized to sell me more services and more parts. And I'm also relying on that tech to tell me what's wrong. There seems to be a conflict of interest there, no?
Hmm.
Well, if I had something like AI where I could ask my own car, what's wrong with you? That reduces the complexity domain. And I think, you've made a very complex problem a little more bite-sizable. And AI, a complex solution in of itself, has simplified things. So that's how I see it going, is we're here to simplify things for OEMs using a complex technology
So that they can save time and cost.
so they can save time and cost.
Excellent, excellent. Anything else you would like to add before we close?
Well, I mean, again, I feel very fortunate, and I'm hoping everybody who listens to your podcast is as excited as I am during this amazing time in automotive. And it's not just automotive, it's mobility, it's in commercial as well, right? It's
Mhm.
planes, trains, automobiles, drones, robot. To me, they're all very, very similar. They're edge points that move, that have mobility, if you will. And this transformation that we see that's happening with software, with data, with AI is really going to transform not just transportation, but everybody's everyday lives. And it's amazing to me because, again, I think we're laying the groundwork, but it's really going to be my daughters and their friends, the Gen Zers, and heaven forbid, the Gen Alphas. It's funny. It's interesting, actually. My daughters, who are Gen Zs, are complaining about the Gen Alphas who are after them. And I'm going, really?
What should we say,
I
right?
don't know what to say about that. Okay. But it's really in their hands to figure out what is the next big thing using the infrastructure that we're building today. And that's what's really exciting because I don't know what they're going to come up with, but what we're building today with vehicles, it's going to be, I hope I live long enough to see what they come up with. So that's what inspires me to take my vitamins and to go out for walks every day is to see what they come up with based on the stuff that, our generation is building right now.
That's awesome. Well, Jeff, I don't know if you know, but there is a kind of a tradition in this podcast, which is the last question I ask to my guest. And this question is, what is your number one storytelling advice to our audience?
Number one storytelling advice to who?
To our audience, so OEMs, tier ones, people who are working in the automotive industry.
For me to tell them or for them to tell others?
Either way, as you like. It's your choice.
Either way. I for me to them, I would definitely tell them and that they should keep an open mind and embrace technology and not shy away from it and assume that you don't know everything because I don't know everything. Nobody does. We can't predict the future, but we are living in an amazing, exciting time. And if we all can work together as an ecosystem, I think that floats everybody's boat. And this world of collaboration is going to continue. And I think we're all stronger together. That's my story to them. And for them, I think what OEMs and incumbents really need to do is just like it's been hard for me is to listen to the next generation of buyers. So they need to learn from the Gen Zers and the Gen Alphas, heaven forbid. So that is what I am trying to do with my daughters. I plug into their lives and I try to understand why they like this particular app more than that. Let me give you an anecdote if we have a little more time.
Absolutely. Happy.
So, and I don't want a plug for Spotify, but I'll use Spotify as an example. And I asked them, they asked me, why do you think Spotify is so popular among our generation? And, I was thinking to myself, and I would assume you probably have the same ideas. It's, because you can stream your music, right? That's what I thought. They go, no, I can do that with many other streaming music, solutions. I go, well, then why is it so popular? They say it's because of the social aspect, because they can share their playlists with their friends, because they can connect with their friends through Spotify. It's the social network component of that platform is what made it popular, not because of the music itself. And
Very
I'm going,
interesting.
wow, that's how the next generation thought of a streaming music platform. It was a social platform first. And, it's that kind of thinking that I think the older generation like myself and many who are in the automotive space need to listen to their kids and their grandkids and their friends to understand what is important to the next generation. And that's what they got to focus on.
Jeff, thank you so much for your time and your insight. It's been a really incredible episode. I enjoy so much listening to you and having this conversation with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Really.
Thanks for having us.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Automotive Storytelling. Dear listeners, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe to our podcast wherever you get them from and share it with friends and colleagues who are passionate about the future of automotive technology. Remember that behind every dashboard and every feature lies a human story, and those are the stories we are committed to uncovering here. Until next time, I'm Stéphane Lagresle from the Storytelling Tribe. Thanks for listening.